And I'm sitting and he's staring at me. He keeps turning his head, looking at me like, and then he says, you know, Mark, look at the pictures on the wall. And he has on the wall about 58 by 10s of the best looking people you've ever seen. ABC was famous for like really good looking people.
Right.
And he says to me, do you think you look like any of those people?
Oh my God.
Wow.
Yeah. So I look and I go, not really. He goes, I can't help you.
Oh, shit.
Wow.
That's brutal.
Unbelievable, right?
Yeah, that is fucking, that's a hashtag Me Too moment for you. How come you haven't written anything about that yet?
Dystopia Tonight. Dystopia Tonight.
Hey, how are you? Good to see you. No, he's right. It's chutzpah, and it's like a scungimi. If I was trying to, why don't we go out for some scungimi? Right? You know. So let's hear it. Scungili, right?
Yeah. Oh my God, man, chutzpah. I gotta get it right, man. I don't know my Yiddish.
It's gotta go bakama. Right? Come on. Dame ut filone de pane. What about a loaf of bread? So
the only words I know in Italian are the ones my grandparents used to shout at me as a kid, which was state zit, aspetta, and manja. Just shut up, eat, wait. And that's
right.
it.
And
Yeah.
I know put the gun down, please. So that's the one I know. So please. Leave the gun, take the cannolis.
Yes. That's classic. Ray Liotta, may he rest in peace.
Oh, yeah. I spoke to a guy today who was very close to him. The guy's name is John Savage.
Oh, I know who John Savage.
Yeah, John was in Apocalypse Now. He was in 100 movies, and he was very close. And his brother was even closer to Ray, and they're broken up by it. He says Ray was just a great guy, and you know, we all know a tremendous actor.
Yeah, that's what I'd heard. I heard he was a really, really nice guy.
Goodfellas. Mm.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Classic.
Yeah. Actually, it's pronounced fellas. No, I'm just kidding.
There you go.
So wait, I gotta know. Would you remember the article that I'm talking about with the one?
So, yeah, it was in a couple of different places. I'll tell you the story. By the way, there's a book you probably read. Maybe you didn't associate to me. It's called "I Killed."
Yeah, I have it.
Stories. I wrote that.
Yes, I love that book. I've got the hardcover in my room.
That was the Road 200 Comics. Me and Ritch Shydner talked to them, and we got stories from them.
Yeah,
it was.
I love Ritch.
Yeah, he's incredible. So anyway, what happened was it was a new. You want the story?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so New Year's Day, Seinfeld, Reiser, me, Larry Miller, and another guy named Michael Hampton Kane were all out of work with new comedians. This is like a third year in, hanging out at the comic strip. Maybe we're doing New Year's Eve for $100, but nothing. So we said, let's get together tomorrow for brunch, New Year's Day. So we met at this place, had brunch. We had such a good time, the five of us. We said, let's do this every New Year's Day for the rest of our lives. Wow, and we did it for 30 years. Oh, and mostly every year we met, and we would close the day off by walking over the Brooklyn Bridge together. Oh, wow. And we got halfway there. We felt the new year was actually starting.
Wow.
And the person that made the most money paid for the lunch, and the person that made the next most money paid for the limousine for the day. I never had to pay for anything, by the way. Those guys. It's 5 millionaires and me. So one year, Paul Reiser was in England doing Aliens 2. Wow. He was shooting Aliens 2, and he was going to be there on New Year's Day. So me, Seinfeld, Larry Miller, and Mike Caine, we flew to England.
Wow. We
got in a hotel because we can't miss New Year's Day.
Mm-hmm.
And then we realized that a Rolls Royce to rent was like $3,000 for the day, that we could actually fly to Paris for $100 each, and let's have lunch there.
Wow.
So we flew to Paris, had lunch across from Notre Dame, flew back to England, and took the plane home.
Oh, my God.
Wow.
That's incredible. I love that.
And we've all been friends forever.
Mm-hmm.
And we're all married and have stayed married.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
wow, that's
a rarity in
yeah.
show business too, right?
Reiser's married easily over 25 years. Everybody stayed married, and it's a great thing. And after about 30 years, we stopped in New Year's Day because we all had wives, and they wanted to do other things.
Ah.
And when we first started, we had all these stories, and once you get married, those stories are gone.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
I really love traditions like that. My friends and I, not the same. None of us are millionaires, so we don't do any of the limo stuff. But I shit you not, since in high school, for some reason, we started this tradition where we would go to the IHOP in town, and we would at 9 a.m. on Christmas Eve day and exchange gifts. Just me and my buddies, and then it was me and my friends and our girlfriends, and then it was me, I'm not married at all, so it was me and my friends and their wives and their kids, you know. So, but we just kept that going for like 20 something years, and we still try up until the pandemic. We would go to the same IHOP in the same, even though none of us live there anymore. Same IHOP, same town, and have Christmas Eve, and everyone looks at us like we're nuts because we're walking in with bags and gifts and shit. Right. And and it's just, I love that kind of stuff. It's good to have those.
It's the greatest. It doesn't matter if you're doing it at the River Cafe, where we did it for 20 years straight, or England, or the IHOP. You're with your friends, and that's really the bottom line.
What would it be? Would you guys just like call each other when it got close? And who organized the plans?
So the plan was really simple. It was always 1 year it was in LA, but every year it was in New York. So if you lived in LA, you had to get to New York. For me, it was a $3,000 lunch. Because I had to fly there 2 days early. I had to put myself up in a hotel, you know, but anyway, we all met in New York. The limousine would usually stop at either Jerry or Paul's place first. Paul's at a hotel, Jerry's house. And then one by one, he would pick us up. He'd pick up Paul, Jerry would pick up Paul, then he'd pick up Larry, then he'd pick up me, then he'd pick up Michael, and finally we're all together.
Wow.
And first thing we would do was drive uptown, all the way uptown, to the cloisters, you know them up there, beautiful. And we go to Grant's tomb, and we walk around, hang out, smoke cigars, and so it was a phenomenal thing. And I have hundreds of pictures from those events because I'm the only guy that brought a camera.
Yeah, I'm that guy too. I always have a camera with me. Always. That was just organizing all these photos, man, from like stand-up days and like when I first started, me and my friends or whatever. Because I always either had a disposable camera, or then I got a real camera, and then I got you know what I mean? Like, and then you got your phone, and I'm the one who's always doing it. And I don't know, did people get annoyed? Because my friends used to get really pissed off. They'd be like, God, just live in the moment. But and now as we're older, they're like, do you have that photo of me when we're all together from like 19 whatever? And I'm like, yeah, I've got it. Where's my thank you?
You're gonna have to
I don't know why this is freezing because I have Ethernet and I have 1,000 megabytes.
Oh, weird. That is bizarre.
And you should totally be good.
Yeah, you should be
hardwired in.
I am. I'm hardwired in, and I got AT&T 1,000. And you know, the only thing I don't have is a priest in the corner with rosary praying for this. That's the only thing. I'm Jewish, by the way, but I know this stuff. Dominus vobiscus succumbus subius. Right.
I think you just turned somebody into a rabbit.
Yeah,
I think that's the spell.
I learned that from Lenny Bruce.
Did you really?
Not personally. It's on his album. There's some routine where he plays Father Flatsky, I think it is.
Yeah.
And he goes, Dominus vobiscus succumbus subius. And I listened to that album like 40 times when I was a kid. So,
man. Was that one of your earliest influences?
Lenny, once I read Ladies and Gentlemen, Lenny Bruce, the Albert Goldman, Larry Schiller book. And it's also Seinfeld read that book. And we were both, if you haven't read it, it'll knock your socks off. Sweet. It's the ultimate biography on him. But no, my first influence was Rodney Dangerfield.
Oh, man.
12 years old, Forest Hills. My parents were going out for the night. They took me to a nightclub called the Boulevard Nightclub. Rodney was opening the show for an Italian singer named Jimmy Roselli.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Very suave Italian guy. And Rodney opened the show, and Rodney destroyed the crowd. I've never seen my parents laugh like that. And I had an aha moment. I said, that's it. I know what I want to do for a living.
Wow.
12. And I never looked back.
Oh, that's incredible, man. Was that helping you connect with your parents?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. You know, they were a little worried when I actually, you know, at 12, when you say I'm going to be a comedian, you know, they go, oh yeah, he's going to be a fireman, a doctor, you know.
Right.
But then I hung in with the thing and kept listening to albums. I used to go to Lincoln Center and listen to tapes and albums there. Yeah, it was incredible. And then my parents got to see me a bunch. Probably the biggest gig at the time was they saw me at Radio City Music Hall.
Wow.
That's a great gig.
I opened for Kenny Loggins.
Oh my God. That's so awesome. Yeah.
I'll tell you an amazing story there if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure, please.
You got nothing to do.
No.
So where are you going? You're not going anywhere.
No, I'm not.
I got you. I got you by the, you know, how do you say it in Italian? The gazzones?
Cajones. Yeah, the calzones.
Cajones.
Cajones, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, you know, when you do these gigs, sometimes they got a local radio guy introducing you, like from WKR CD. You know,
yeah.
Whatever it is. So Radio City Music Hall, when you're opening for people, sometimes it's still coming in. And it's a tough spot, especially in a big place like Radio City with 6,000 people. So all of a sudden, he's talking, the MC is about to bring me on, his mic goes dead, completely dead. But he's a radio guy. He doesn't understand anything. And he decides to bring me out anyway with no microphone to 6,000 people. This isn't the comic strip with 40 people. And you still want them to move up front. You don't want them sitting in the back. Right. So anyway, I start going like this. I go, I'm not coming out. I'm not coming out. And he goes, what? I'm not coming. And I don't go out. Took him 15 minutes to fix the mic. When I went out, 6,000 people were already seated and perfect.
Wow.
And my parents got to see me get this big ovation there, big write-up in I think in the Post or the News, how funny I was. But that wouldn't have happened if I went out earlier.
Yeah. That would have the kiss of death.
Yeah, that's right.
God. That is brutal, man.
What? that took a lot of tenacity though on your part too, to be like, nope, sorry, not coming out until it's ready.
Yeah. I had to do that a couple of times. I'll tell you one time, which was one of the scariest sets I ever did. As long as we're on sets for a second.
Yeah.
One night I'm with Seinfeld, and we're in middle of the country somewhere, a little town, and we go out for lunch in the afternoon. We always go for a walk together, and he stops at this place, and he orders a tuna sandwich from this deli where you bite at the counter. And I look at the tuna, I go, Jerry, it doesn't look good. And he goes, it's fine. So he buys it. And when we go to his room to pick him up, me and the producer, we go to his room to get him to go to the show. He's sitting over a table like this, sweating, sick as a dog. I mean, unbelievably sick. Jesus. And he goes, the tuna. So I said, I told you. And they go, do you want to cancel the show? And the producer goes, he goes, no, I'll be all right. So we almost carry him downstairs, put him in the car, and he's soaking wet. And this is what they say to me. I said, you sure you want to do this, Jerry? He goes, yeah. And he goes, listen, you go on and just stay out there until I'm ready. Now there's 4,000 people. Just stay out there. I said, well, any day, how long? I don't know. Till I feel better. So I don't know if I'm doing 15 or 55. I'm scary, right?
That's horrifying.
A little frightening.
Yeah.
So luckily I ended up doing about 35 minutes, and then he was ready. Let me tell you something. He did one of the best shows I ever saw him do in his life.
Wow.
He had snapped out of it, and he was such a pro. It was sensational, to say the least.
Oh my God. Who the hell was on the other night? We were just talking about how when you're a comedian, for some reason, as soon as you're under that spotlight, whatever you're feeling, whatever's ailing you, I did 5 shows in Michigan. I had the worst flu of my entire fucking life. Right. When I was on stage for an hour, it was like nobody knew a fucking thing. The minute I stepped off and the show was over, I was like shaking. They were handing me tea and soup or whatever. And it's the weirdest thing. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. That was Richard Klein.
Yeah, Robert Klein.
Robert Klein, sorry.
Yeah. I was like Richard Kind. I was like, what? Robert Klein. Yeah. It's like whenever he was saying something, he had a hurt knee when he was on stage, or it had something going on with his knee. Said the same thing. When you're on stage, you don't feel a thing.
Yeah. I had the same. We all have that experience, because the show has to go on. And, who's going to replace me when I'm in Arkansas?
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. We'll call another guy. He'll be here in 2 days. tell the people to wait. Just come to just drink their drinks really slow.
That's crazy. You know, it's funny you said the thing about the radio guy not knowing what to do. It's so weird because I feel like to us it's common sense. Like you don't introduce anybody with the mic busted. I did a charity event. They had they you know bunch of rich people under a fucking tent. It looked like Hogwarts, you know, the whole thing. And they had a guy on that was an auctioneer before the comics.
Sure.
So I'm going to go on, and he does his like, you know, the whole thing was out of order, so even the order wasn't right, but whatever. It's a gig, it's money. He's just running through his shit, and he gets everybody to donate everything. The food's not even out yet, and he goes, "All right, I'm gonna bring out your next comic. Oh, you're gonna love this guy." But and everybody is standing up. And they're all going to get their food. No one's in their seat. Everybody's talking, and he's just talking and introducing me. And I had to do the same thing. I was like, abso-fucking-lutely not.
Yeah.
like I was like, I had to walk over to the woman who was running the thing. And I was like, you got to get him to sit down. Like, I'm not going on. No one's paying attention. There's no point. And everybody's going to be pissed at me. Yeah.
Right. We've all had that. And a good thing to do, and it doesn't make it 100%, but in your contract, if you have a contract, you stipulate that people have to be seated, paying attention, and if possible, no serving when you're on.
Oh man, I didn't know you could do that. I got to start doing the
Mark Schiff you absolutely do. You know, George Carlin said that food, you cannot compete with food.
Right.
They got a steak sizzling on the plate and potatoes and the aroma, and you're up there talking about your mother. They don't want to hear this. You know what I mean? And there's always a guy's back to you. And this is what Carlin said, all you see, him cutting the steak.
Yeah.
So
did you see his documentary yet?
I'm up to a little past the middle of number 2. There's only 2 been released so far.
Right. It's only 2. It's 1 and 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
So good. Judd Apatow does the crazy. I went to the premiere in New York. And we got to see the second part of it, and it was that could have been enough, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like before there was even a first part. So good.
Was Kelly there? Kelly Carlin?
Kelly was there. Kelly's one. Yeah. Kelly was there. Judd Apatow was there. Mike Bonfiglio was there, and then we went to the after party afterward, and Judy Gold was there, and Gary Gulman, Dan Pasternak. Who the hell else showed up? A bunch of us were there, and it was so great. Do you like, because I liked your book, I Killed. You did that with Ritch Shydner. He's been on the show. He's a good friend. I love all this stuff coming out about comedy right now. I mean, from between the books and the documentaries and everybody kind of, you know, collecting this history of it. Do you feel like, not a responsibility, I want to say, but like, are you enjoying everybody kind of documenting and kind of writing down all the history? Because you guys like lived in the perfect time, like started in the perfect time for comedy. I mean, there's nothing better than that era. I think we're doing good now, but it's not as, you know,
like jazz. It's an American art form, I think. You know, stand-up comedy. I'll tell you something interesting. Shydner has a beautiful one-man show. On the history of stand-up comedy. Yeah, he goes all the way back. Before stand-up comedy, if you look at silent movies, there were no silent movie Jewish stars.
Wow.
Chaplin's not Jewish. Keaton's not Jewish. Fatty Arbuckle's not Jewish.
Right.
You name it. You know, Stan Laurel was in silent. Hardy. Nobody's Jewish. It wasn't until you give the Jews a microphone where you can hear what they have to say that they started cracking people up.
Wow.
It's just interesting, right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Jews have to move their mouth.
Yeah. Everybody thinks, people who don't know me think I'm Jewish. Other Jewish people think they mistake me for Jews, and Italians always know I'm Italian.
Right.
But like it's the weirdest, which I don't know if it's because I grew up in Brooklyn or what it is, but or just or I don't know if it's just the stand-up thing or the way I talk, but I think I feel like I was raised, because I'm such a comedy nerd. Like when I was younger, I had Franklin Ajay's book, Comic Insights. I carried that thing around like the Bible, and it had everybody in it interviewed in it or whatever. But I don't know. I feel like I learned to speak from watching like you guys. So it's like ingrained in the system. But there is a very unique, you know, point of view throughout that. What do you consider to be the first comedian? Because I know that's kind of like heavily debated. I remember Richard Zoglin said it was Bob Hope he considers to be, but I think other people say vaudeville, back to like the vaudeville days.
I think Milton Berle there's video of him from the 30s doing stand-up that I know of. Much behind that, I don't know. But Burrow was out there, Hope.
Mm-hmm.
Got a chance, Burrow. I'll tell you a Burrow story.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
So I was in Montreal. I think it was 91, and they were honoring honoring Milton Berle. They were giving him the big honor, great comedian award. I think the first year they ever did that.
Mm.
And I went over to his dressing room, and I'm a nervous performer. I have stage fright. I still do. It's better than it used to be, much better, but I got it. I used to be paralyzed when it still go up on stage. I almost fell off stage twice, passing out.
Wow.
Yeah. Once at Caesar's Palace, I couldn't breathe. I almost fell off the stage.
What do you do right before you go? Do you do something before you go on to kind of quell it?
You can't.
Wow.
Once, it's like once he comes to visit you, Mr. Stage Fright. I mean, I do meditate. I do meditate twice a day, but it helps.
Mm-hmm.
But this is with me. So
wow.
There's no shrink in the world and get rid of this baby. So so I go to Milton Berle's dressing room and introduce myself because I do like to introduce myself to people.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, Mr. Berle, I knock. He says, come in. Who are you? I said, my name is Mark Schiff. I'm a young comedian. He goes, oh, Mark, how you doing? Have a cigar. He gives me a cigar. And I said, I just want to say hello. He goes, so how you doing? I go, I'll tell you the truth. I'm really nervous tonight. There's 3,000 people, and he this is what he said to me. He goes, kid, if you weren't funny, you wouldn't be here. Great, right? Then he said to me, I'm going to try to watch you. And now I almost peed my pants because the last thing I wanted him to do is watch me. Now my stage fright is tripled because now I got to worry about Milton Berle standing in the wings. I don't want it, but I can't say don't stand, because you don't want certain people there.
Yep.
Yeah.
So anyway, I go and I get through and I have a pretty good set. And I come off and he's standing there. And he goes, I told you were a good kid. Wow. And then he walks off backstage, big stage. He walks off into the dark. And then he does his show. Cut to 10 years later, I go to the Hillcrest Country Club. You know the Hillcrest?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm doing a show there. And it just so happens at lunch is Milton Berle with 5 other guys.
Wow.
So I go over 10 years. I haven't seen him, ever talked to him again. I go over, I go, Mr. Berle, just want to say hello. He goes, what's your name? I go, Mark Schiff. He looks at me, he goes, you're that scared kid from Montreal, huh?
Wow.
Can you believe that?
Yeah. Wow. Holy shit.
Yeah.
That is beautiful.
And then it was incredible. What a memory. And then he gives me a cigar again. And,
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Love those guys. Though I wish I'd gotten to meet some of those guys. Like Rodney, what you mentioned before, he's one of the few guys I really, really wish I'd gotten to meet because his reputation of just being like one of the nicest dudes and somebody who loves comedians and loves comedy and was super nice to everybody. And he's just fucking funny, like so funny. But yeah, never got to meet him before.
He was the best Tonight Show comedian in history.
Yeah.
Nobody killed him on the Johnny Carson show like Rodney Dangerfield.
Right.
And nobody killed Johnny.
Yeah.
Like Rodney. He was so nice to me and so many other people. I'll tell you another funny story. You want a Rodney story?
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
One night I'm with Seinfeld and Rodney had invited me up. When he started doing the Tonight Show was 90 minutes long. It wasn't an hour that they cut it down to.
Wow.
It was even longer. It was an hour 45 when they first started doing the Tonight Show.
Wow.
Comedians, instead of doing 5 minutes, used to have to do 9 minutes.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah. And then another 5 or 6 sitting on pounds. So you're talking 15 minutes each shot. That's, how much material is that? I mean, it's crazy, right?
Yeah. It's a lot of material to burn. Yeah.
So I said to Rodney one day, I said, listen, I would love to see your old Tonight shows because they don't play them over. And he goes, if you're in New York, call me and come on. And if I'm there, come on up.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm with Jerry. I said, why don't we call Rodney tonight and see if he's home? We'll go watch some of his old Tonight shows.
Mm-hmm.
So I call Rodney. He says, come on up.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you know this, but Rodney is famous for wearing bathrobes.
Yes, absolutely.
All the time, the bathrobe and open on the bottom. So anyway, I said to Jerry, I bet you he's wearing this bathrobe when we go up there. And Jerry goes, impossible. It'd be rude. He's going to, but of course he's going to get dressed for us.
Right.
I said, I'll bet you $1. So we shake hands because even $1, you still got to shake hands.
Yeah.
So we go up to Rodney's house. He opens the door. He's in the bathroom. And we both start laughing. And Rodney says, hey, I'll tell you, boy, what's so funny? What's so fucking funny?
Mm-hmm.
So we said, I bet Jerry $1 that you'd be in your bathrobe. He said, you wouldn't. And he takes us into his bedroom and opens the closet. He's got like 50 bathrobes. Yeah, and he starts talking about them like they're works of art. He goes, I got this one in Paris. I got this one in Utah. This is from the Hotel Seville. Unbelievable, right? Now, up there with him was a guy named Joe Antis.
Oh, my God.
You know, Joe Antis.
I know who he is, yeah.
Lenny Bruce's said he was the funniest guy that ever lived, and Rodney
Absolutely.
said the same thing about him. And Joe was just sitting there smoking a joint quietly.
Wow.
And didn't say much to us. And Rodney and I and Jerry watched the shows, and then we took off. And it was a sensational, sensational night.
Wow, man. That's awesome.
That's a great memory.
I love that you were that, like, because sometimes a lot of times I talk to people on here, and they're like very skittish about approaching people who are kind of famous or whatever in the business, but you seem to be able to just go right up to people, introduce yourself. Was that the comedian in you, or is that just who you are naturally?
Well, a lot of these guys knew me, you know, they'd heard of me or knew me.
Mm-hmm.
And from 7 years at the clubs in New York, they would come in, Rodney would come in and do his Tonight Show.
Nice.
And practice it. And you got to meet these guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I do have a tendency. I would go, when I was much younger, I would go up to people and ask them if I could talk to them. It happened with Woody Allen one night. I was with Gilbert Gottfried.
Oh, no way.
Listen to this.
Yeah.
One night, Gilbert and I never got on at the clubs when we first started for years.
Mm-hmm.
But you hang out anyway just to show your allegiance, right? They got to see your face.
Yeah.
The Jews say you put them at face. So anyway, Gilbert and I would hang out at the Improv on 44th and 9th till around 10:30 at night, and we realized we're not getting on.
Mm-hmm.
And we would walk to Catch a Rising Star from there on 77th and 1st. So it's about an hour walk at night. One night we're walking on Central Park East, 5th Avenue, and you see coming towards me two guys. One is Woody Allen, and the other we realize is Marshall Brickman, the guy that wrote his early movies with him.
Wow.
Okay.
So as it gets close, I go to Gilbert, there's Woody. And he goes, yeah. And I go, hey, Woody. And he stops and he's nervous. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. It's like 1 or 12:30 in the morning now.
Oh, my God.
Central Park East, two guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I just said to him, we're comedians. We just came from the Improv and we're going to catch. I told him to quell his fear.
Yeah.
And then I said, we would like to talk to you sometime. Can you give us a little, can we meet you somewhere? And he said, come down to Michael's Pub, where he played clarinet every Monday night.
Yeah.
He said, come down next Monday, and in between sets, I'll talk to you.
Oh, my God.
So we went down there, and he talked to us for 40 minutes. And what was interesting, he said, if you want to tell me how funny I am, how much you like my stuff, how talented, let's end the conversation right now. If you want to talk about comedy, we'll do that. But I don't want to hear how good and how funny, what a genius I don't want to hear that. So we talked. It was great. And when Jack Rollins, his manager, heard that Woody did this, he couldn't believe it because he said Woody never did that for anybody.
Wow.
Wow.
That's
amazing,
incredible.
right?
Yeah, that's really awesome. What was the thing, like when you talked about comedy and stuff like that, how far along into comedy were you? Did you get on stage yet? Were you just open micing stuff? Or
I was trying to pass auditions. I passed the audition at the Improv. I wasn't getting on. I was probably in my 3rd year.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The only place I was getting on was the comic strip.
Oh, okay. Was that so I asked this question of everybody who's been between the comic strip and the and Catch a Rising Star. People say comics, one was the nerdy one was the cool one. What in your mind was the difference between the two?
No doubt about it. Catch a Rising Star was the cool one.
Yeah.
That was show business.
Okay.
People dressed up to go there. They were in suits and ties. The really famous people stopped in there when they were in town. Carson went there, got a table. It was real nightclubby. The closest thing a comedy club was ever to like the old Copa.
Oh,
the
wow.
comic strip was the most incredible place to work out, but it was the guys that owned it were Bronx bar owners, Richie Tinkin and Bob Wax was a lawyer, but and John McGowan. They owned bars in the Bronx, so that's kind of what this place was modeled after. It wasn't modeled after a sleek, chic place.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, that lady on stage, they had at one time. So
yeah. Do you remember like meeting? Because I know your crew was kind of like you said, like Seinfeld, Reiser, Larry Miller, probably Carol Leifer. But do you remember people who were they who you first started with, or did you meet them eventually down the line? Because that was
started with every one of them together.
Started with every one of them together. Wow.
When we started, Jerry was a waiter at a place called Bruenberger.
Oh my God.
And I think he sold light bulbs.
Oh wow.
Yeah, something like that. And Reiser was partially working for his family. They had a food business. Carol Leifer was starting out. We all started together.
Who was the class before you? Was it Leno? Was it
no
Richard Lewis?
Richard Lewis, Ed Bluestone.
Okay. Oh, Ed Bluestone.
Yeah, Andy Kaufman.
Okay.
Elaine Boozler.
Okay.
Bobby Kelton.
Wow.
The Untouchables.
Oh wow. Okay.
Marvin Braverman.
Right.
Belzer. Bob Shaw.
Was like the Tonight Show like, so obviously TV was the next, like the ultimate goal, but did you guys have like a plan set in mind, or were you just thrilled to be doing stand-up? Was it like getting into the clubs, doing road work, Carson, and then whatever?
Good question. There was no road work when we started. There was nothing.
Oh, wow.
There was the mountains, 1977. We didn't want to go to the mountains and be cast as old Jewish comedians, or get not that it was a bad place to work. Those guys were unbelievable. The Freddie Romans and all, they were some of the best comics that ever lived. But we were a little younger, a lot younger, hipper, and there were no clubs on the. There was like from here to California, there were like 20 comedians in the middle of the country.
Wow.
There were the black clubs that they called the Chitlin Circuit. They had their own thing going.
Tom Gleason said he worked the Chitlin Circuit.
I believe it.
Yeah.
And then the clubs started opening. People who wanted to own discotheques saw that was going down, and maybe a comedy club. It was easier.
Oh, wow.
And we immediately, our group went to becoming headliners.
Wow.
Because we were the best of our group, and these clubs were open, so they had to hire. And we went right to headliners and never looked back. We never had a middle or open.
Oh my God, that is incredible. Yeah. Did you want to add, like, because I know the sitcoms thing was kind of like people were handing out stuff like that all the time. You know what I mean? Like it was like you get on Carson, you get a sitcom, you get a deal.
Right.
Was that something that was on your mind? Did you want to act, or did you really just want to do stand up?
Well, let me tell you, it wasn't as simple as that. Jerry Seinfeld was on NBC, I think 50 times maybe.
Wow.
And they never cast him to be in a show. They never even thought about him. They didn't even know he was there, kind of. And he was on TV more than anybody, killing him, just killing him.
Right.
We all wanted to do a show. Some got it, and some didn't. I had stage fright and nerves I was dealing with. So when I went in for readings and auditions, I was not good.
Okay.
And I had studied acting for years. I studied HP Studio down on Bank Street. I studied all kinds of places, and it didn't take. I mean, I was I would freeze, and I couldn't remember my words. Did
you get that? When you were, how did you handle, because I can imagine with the stage fright and everything, like, how did you handle heck? Like, was there a lot of heckling things going on back then? Like, how did you handle like situations like that? Did it break you?
Like what?
Or, like if there was a heckler in the audience, if there was somebody
like an aggressive heckler,
if you had that to deal with, like if you were dealing with your own anxiety about stage fright and maybe forgetting some stuff, then what happened to you when, like, let's say something in the audience, like, were you able to get over it?
That didn't bother me. Everybody has a different thing that is their boogeyman.
Yeah.
Like for some comics, I was really good with hecklers. I could demolish them.
Nice.
And I loved it. I was most proud of myself when I really would come up with a line that would just, out of nowhere in your head, you just go, oh God, that was friggin' brilliant. That line is worthless anywhere else in the world. But I can't believe I just put this Rubik Cube together in front of these people.
Yeah.
So, but just performing would get me.
Nice.
It would get me. But writing, interesting enough, I never had writer's block, and I could write like crazy, whether it's stand up or my book or whatever it is.
Nice.
Never had a fear of the typewriter. I had a fear of human beings in front of me. I never saw them as my friends. I was talking to Susie Essman about this, and I said, Susie, my big problem was I never saw the audience as people, my friends. I just didn't think they would like me. I thought I was pulling the wool over their eyes. And she goes, I always saw them as friends and people that would care about me.
Wow. See, I feel like I'm somewhere in the middle, and it was an older comic at the time when I was younger who told me, they were like, you know, the audience, like you have to think of it like the audience is rooting for you. You know, it's like they don't want you to fail. And for some reason that changed the way I thought about it when I was going up on stage. I was like, oh yeah, they just want to have a good time too, and they don't want you to suck. So it like I felt like we were on a team after that. Not necessarily that we were friends, but I felt like the team thing is somewhere in the middle of that, you know?
Yeah, and God bless, I wish I had that, but I would have a gig, and I know the people were spending $50 or something to see me with the drinks and this on Saturday night. And I was thinking, these people worked all week and they're wasting their money on me. You know, $50 each. I mean, you know, God, I can't believe, you know.
I would feel that when I was starting out. You guys didn't have to do bringer shows, but when I first started, I didn't have to do them for very long because I got taken out on the road pretty quickly by a headliner. But when I started, they were bringer shows, and they were the fucking kiss of death of comedy. I think like it was like I started in 2005, and the clubs had figured out they could just rip people off by having people who wanted to be comedy, you know, and then bring an audience. I always felt super guilty because I was like, man, I've only got this 5 minutes, and in order for me to get on stage, I got to bring my friends who've already seen me do this 5 minutes, and they're paying money, and they may be the only ones in the audience, and they gotta fuck it. So it was this whole, it was death. It was always just the worst thing. And then I would try to do new shit because I'm like, I got to do something, but they were untested, so it was just the worst fucking thing.
Oh God, I know. You know, and when I knew somebody was coming to see me, like friends or family, I would tell the seater at the club, make sure you put them in the back. I don't want to see their faces up front. And they invariably always want to sit in the front row and stare at you because they're so proud of you.
Yes. Yeah.
They're so happy to know a funny guy and this and that. And I go, no, put him outside somewhere. Let him sit in the car. I'll put a Bluetooth speaker in.
You had to jump on the COVID shows beforehand. You're like, leave him in the car. Let him honk.
Yeah. You know, when I knew my parents were coming, I remember one night at the comic strip, I was so nervous, and I walked around the block 10 times, like just thinking, I can't do this with my parents sitting there. My parents, I didn't even think, I thought, you know, it was terrible thing to carry around, but I've gotten through it. So
my friends would do, so it would be one of those things where like my friends would come and see me, and it would be a good show, and I would be like, you are never coming to see me again. Right. Because this is it. but on out of spite, I remember one time I got booked at this. It was stupid, and it was like a local gig, and this restaurant that you don't have out there because you don't have garbage restaurants. But it was called Cluck You, and it was the lowest of the low chicken places, but they wanted to do stand up. And my manager at the time was like, "Hey, do you want to do a Cluck You?" And I was like, "No." But I was like, oh, you know, I'm going to do other gigs. So I'm like, yeah, you know what? Let me just go dig around this place. So I go to do it, and two of my friends show up, and I just went, why? Yeah. Why on earth? I'm like, I'm in a theater in a week. I'm in New York in you know, why? And they were like, oh, we're not missing this.
Yeah.
I was just like, fuck you both.
You know what the worst thing is when your friends say they're going to come and then they go, you got a lot of new material?
Yeah.
That is like, give me a gun and let me put these people out of their misery because I don't want to deal with this. You got to do 40 minutes.
Yeah. Oh my God. It is awful. To this day, and I've been doing stand-up for over 16 years. I remember one gig so fucking well because I ate it so. There was literally no reason for me to eat it this badly. Like literally at this point, like I had just opened for Jimmy Fallon before he took over for Conan the first time he was taking over for late night. I was on a high, and then I did this show, and I was still working a part-time job. So I was still working at a library, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to do a local show and make some money. Everybody's going to come out. Half of my work family came out, like people I worked with came out, and then friends and people's fucking mothers from when I knew them in high school. Like everybody had come out. I ate balls so hard on that stage. Couldn't explain to you why. I was like sweating bullets for the first.
Sure.
And yeah, and I remember, and I feel like I genuinely wanted to apologize to people and be like, I don't know what happened.
Right.
But I couldn't because they all were lying to me. And they were like, and I was like, now this is what they think I do.
Right. Wow. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I'm like, they
Right.
think and Tom knows this because I've told
Go ahead. I was going to ask that.
Yeah. Somebody left me a note on my car that said, you fucking suck. And this is the best part. I didn't park anywhere near the actual venue. So
they sorted out.
It was someone who fucking knew what car I drove. So like, whose mother wrote this and left this to me? Yeah.
Wouldn't you have loved to hear the conversation in their cars when they were driving home? That would be priceless on tape.
I never even thought of that. Yeah, I would love that. I really would. It's so hilarious to me. But it's also moments like that. Do you ever think about that and then go like, holy shit, we're still doing it in spot? Like, that's the weirdest thing. I think if you sucked that badly at any other job, you would probably quit and find another job. But we go, I'm going to book 5 more gigs.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the old, fall off the horse. You got to get right back on. Otherwise, it's too frightening. The thought of not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Cosby once said, I remember I went to see him a few times, and he said, he said, stand-up comedy is like flying a jet plane. Every once in a while, they go down.
Wow. Yeah,
said,
that's
it happens to all of us.
That's dark, but it's true.
When I saw Milton Berle open for Frank Sinatra at Forest Hills Tennis Stadium. And I remember seeing him completely die on stage, and he was 60 years into the business.
Wow.
Sinatra went on around 7. It was the summer, so it was still light out when Milton Berle went on, outdoors, thousands of people coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody listened to him. He was doing all savers.
Wow.
And goodbye.
Yeah.
When they asked Milton Berle, "Are you afraid of death?" He had that great line. He goes, "No, I've died in Philadelphia, Milwaukee, in Utah."
I love it. It's one of those things that I kind of wish we could explain to regular people, that they're going to be because I'll be going to do a gig and it'll be a big gig, and I'll come off and I'll be really excited that it went well, like genuinely excited. And they're like,
sure.
Why? You've been doing this forever. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, it doesn't matter. Like,
no,
but it's one of those things where you're like, I could have, like, I hate to say it, but for me, sometimes my own head gets in the way, and I'm having this weird out of body experience where I go, fuck, this one is not going to be, and maybe the audience is enjoying it, but it doesn't matter because I know I've turned on autopilot or something is wrong and I'm just whatever. And it's not a good set. And I don't have any rhyme or reason for it.
But haven't you ever had the experience? Like I've had an experience where I was like, this is the worst. I'm changing careers. I'm not doing this anymore. Right. Yeah. And then somebody at the end is like, you were incredible.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, well, were you at the same event that I was just at?
And then I always think these people must be slightly mentally challenged. Like I'm always like, I'm always like, what's wrong with them? But no, I know what you mean. I'm glad when people don't see it. You know what I mean? Because then I'm like, oh, okay, maybe, having done it so many times, you're able to put up that facade and it looks and sounds natural and it's fine, right? But you miss a joke, you forget a line. Yeah, it's terrible. It's a painful feeling.
You know that joke when, let's say you get off stage and a woman comes over to you and she says, God, that was the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. You are the funniest person. And you look at her and go, which show did you see? The first or second? Yeah, it was
absolutely true.
I actually made a decision years ago, and this might help, never to demean or degrade what I've done to somebody that comes over and says, boy, that was really good. When I, in my heart, know it wasn't,
right?
I used to do that. They come over and go, Mark, that was great. And I go, really? I didn't think I really had it. No more excuses. I wiped them off the table. Wow. I just go, thank you. Appreciate that.
Good advice.
Yeah.
It really helps. And that's what they want to hear anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially because I guess they're extending a courtesy too, regardless of what they may actually think.
They don't want hear you whining about how, you know what I mean? It's
Absolutely.
Save that for when you get home.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I have a question. So now you were saying how certain guys had other jobs. Did you have a day gig before you hit the stage? Or like you said, when you were 12 years old, you knew where you wanted to go. Was there no in between?
So when I first started doing it, I was 18. I went on stage. I had such a bad set, I didn't get up for 5 years.
Wow.
Never went on stage again for 5 years. Studied acting, dance, all this stuff, but never on stage. But then I came back at 23. And no, I didn't have a job. How I supported myself is great. I had a loft in Soho. And when I lived there, hold on to your seats, it was 2,500 square feet, $350 a month.
Oh,
okay, to rent this floor.
Wow.
To rent it was 5,000 square foot floor. The guy put a thing in the middle, 2,500 square feet, New York, and $350 a month. So my friend, a non-Jew, my friend John Bennett, very handy with his hands. I'm more of a foreman type of guy. You know, I direct what a little back with that, but I don't get involved in the actual manual labor. He built 3 bedrooms in here by himself and put a toilet in.
Wow.
So the rent is $350. We got 3 bedrooms, and we get a third roommate. We charge him $300.
Oh wow. Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Awesome.
Yeah. So my rent is $25 a month in Soho, in 2,500 square feet. Now, there's a capper to this. We put in, you ever see those heaters? They're gas heaters. They hang from the thing there.
Yeah.
BT, like 8,000 BTUs to warm up this place.
Mm-hmm.
Con Edison sends us a bill our first month, and it says there's an E next. It says $5 and an E next to it, which means estimate.
Mm-hmm.
And
okay.
every month for 3 years, we got $5 and an E. And then I get a bill for $33,000.
Oh,
yeah, listen to that. So I call Con Edison, and the woman says, you know, yeah, it was an estimate, and but this is what we figure because of the size of the thing over a 3-year period is about $33,000. And she said the reason we didn't send it because the meter was broken, and we didn't get around to fixing it. So I said, listen, I'm a comedian. I'm not making any money. I don't have $33,000. And she said, hold on. And she goes talk to somebody. She comes back and she goes, we're going to waive it.
Wow.
And she, because it was their fault.
Yeah.
She took the responsibility and they waived the 33 grand.
Oh my God. That's incredible.
Yeah. So
wow, what luck.
So by the way, when our roommate moved out, that was paying the 300, we got another roommate and we charged him 350. So that's how those guys actually, I love them, and they put me through my comedy college by not having to work all day. That's the answer to your question.
Brilliant.
That's a great answer.
Yeah, that is incredible. Do you remember your first paid gig?
Yeah, I got $20 working on 86th Street. I don't remember the exact gig, but we heard there was a job up there. They were paid $20, and I ran up there. And the guy said, yeah, you can go on. And he gave me a $20 bill, and I couldn't believe it.
Wow.
Really?
I couldn't believe I got this much money for doing this because I was getting nothing before.
Right.
Yeah.
But that was, you know, I tell you, it was when I was working with Diana Ross, I was getting $5,000 a week. And my father, who was a truck driver, never earned more than $250, $300 a week, you know, $400 a week at the most. When he heard that I got this, he actually had to sit down. He was so proud of me. He couldn't believe that his son was making $5,000.
Yeah.
You know, it was really extraordinary.
I'm curious about open because I know Ritch Shydner opened for musicians. We had a bunch of comics on that opened. What was the relationship like between that? Because I know Paul Reiser opened for Melissa Manchester. I know a bunch of other comedians opened for Melissa. You opened for Diana Ross, you just said. Was it like your agent that you both had the same agents? How did you guys get hooked up with musicians specifically?
Yeah. So with the musicians, it usually was with the same agency. I was with ICM.
Okay.
And when I was living in New York, Chris Albrecht, who was the head of
HBO,
the head of HBO.
Yeah.
Originally, way before he became that, he moved from New York to California and became an agent at ICM. And he said to me and a couple of other people, come on out to California. We'll handle you. So we moved to California. And ICM had a lot of big acts like Kenny Loggins, Air Supply, Diana Ross. So they would, unless they had specific acts that they wanted,
yeah,
we would go with them.
Cool. That's awesome. And then did you actually get, like, did you develop a relationship with these people? Like, were you close, or was it just comic, musician most of the time, and then that was it?
No, with them, never really developed a relationship. You know, they're busy people. They're doing their thing. They get on stage, they get off. You know, these are big stars, and they're going to do their thing. Diana Ross was always complimentary, always waiting in the wings when I get off. Nice set, Mark. Nice shot.
Oh, nice.
You know, and they're all really nice. One night, I worked with Sheena Easton. She was the only one that we talked about. I worked with Frankie Valli. I was on a bus tour with him in the Four Seasons for a year.
Oh, wow.
That's cool.
That's great, man.
Real perfectionist. He was incredible. He sang his heart out every night. And when the band didn't do what he wanted them to do, he let them have it.
Wow.
Wow.
He cared a lot. They all cared a lot.
And he's still touring, which is crazy.
He is, yeah.
He's still on the go. 86.
See, also, when we started doing this, there were no cell phones. So I had a tour. I toured with Air Supply, and they wouldn't let me on the bus with them.
What?
Yeah, they wouldn't. I don't know why or whatever, but they wouldn't let me on the bus. So I had to rent the car and drive and meet them at the next gig.
Oh, man.
So some of these gigs were 400 or 500 miles. So as soon as I was done, I would jump in the car and just start driving like a maniac. 400 miles is,
yeah,
a lot. And
right.
Especially at night and some of these country roads, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm a nervous driver because I'm always thinking this next turn, there's a deer just going to jump out in front of me and I'm going to kill him and kill my, it's just crazy. I'm a nervous driver. I think the brakes are going to go on a hill.
Right.
So this one gig, I drive 500 miles. I check into the hotel, and then I go to the theater, and they go, "Oh, the show's canceled." What do you mean it's canceled? Air Supply, yeah, the guy got laryngitis last night, so they had to cancel. I just drove 500 miles, but no cell phone, so you don't stop. You just keep going.
God. Wow, I never even thought of that. That's crazy.
Nobody can reach you.
I was
no internet, no nothing.
I don't know if I asked to see who was still around in Air Supply to come on the show, but what we're going to do is if we get any of them, we're going to bring you on at the same time. We're going to ambush them and you're going to ream them out for not.
Those guys were incredible singers.
Yeah.
Russell Higgins or whatever his name. And the other guy, they were just beautiful songs. I don't know how they stopped writing those songs.
I don't know. They were beautiful songs. They were great.
Oh,
Never My Love. That's a beautiful song. And I don't think it's played enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great thing.
I don't know if it was him or their manager that didn't want it, but you meet some crazy people.
Yeah. What was how did you wind up deciding you wanted to move out to LA? Was it that everybody went out, like, because Seinfeld didn't go out to LA right away, but Reiser did, I think, right?
Reiser went out. Larry David did not really.
Right.
He was one of the last to go out. He was still in New York in '83, I think. Chris Albrecht said, "Come on out, and we'll get you some acting, and we'll send you up for sitcoms." And they were good to me. But I was such a bad actor. There was once a part. I got a phone call from Just Shoot Me. The show Just Shoot Me.
Oh yeah, I love that show. Great show.
So I get a phone call from the executive producer. She goes, "Mark, we wrote a part just for you. Perfect, just for you." So they said, "Just come on down. It's they just want to see you and just read, but you got it." I go down there. I don't get my own part. That's written to me. So they don't give it to me. And then I see in backstage, there's a little ad that says, "Mark Schiff type for Just Shoot Me." That was like the gonads just popped out of my mouth. It was so bad. Let me tell you, you really have to handle rejection.
Oh yeah,
which is fine. One time, I studied acting with this guy, Michael. Why am I forgetting? He was just great, and he knows the president of ABC. So he says, "I'm sending you up to my friend at ABC, and he's in charge, and I'm telling him about you, how good you are, and go up and see him." So I go up to see him. And I'm sitting and he's staring at me. He keeps turning his head, looking at me and then he says, "Mark, look at the pictures on the wall." And he has on the wall about 58 by 10s of the best looking people you've ever seen. ABC was famous for really good looking people.
Right.
And he says to me, do you think you look like any of those people?
Oh my God.
Wow.
Yeah. So I look and I go, not really. He goes, I can't help you.
Oh, shit.
Wow.
That's brutal.
Unbelievable, right?
Yeah, that is fucking, that's a hashtag Me Too moment for you. How come you haven't written anything about that yet? Letting all the holy shit. That's fucking nuts, dude. Yeah, it's weird. I when I moved out to LA, I did a lot of those, you know, water bottle tours, you know what I mean, where you're going from studio to studio, drinking the water. But they would say the dumb, like they would be really interested in something I had written, a project that I had gone, and then they would do that thing where they were like, nobody really knows you. And I'd be like, that's why I'm here. Right. Like, here to get whatever. But I had one guy say to me, you know, we had somebody big attached to this. We need like a Will Smith. And I literally went, if I knew Will Smith, do you honestly think I would be in here talking to you? Obviously that I had to leave that meeting, but I was just like, it was the dumbest thing that we love this. It's great. We need like a Will Smith. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I thought you were supposed to be doing.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Why would I be here? Look at what I'm wearing. Yeah.
People, you know, they mostly say no to things, and that's because they're afraid to put themselves on the line. But people do break through. That's the great thing about this business. People do break through all the time.
Absolutely.
And score.
What was your relationship like with the Comedy Store and the Improv when you got out to LA right away? Like, I'm sure you knew people at both.
Yeah. So I was one of the few that they let me work both places.
Okay, that's what I'd read.
Yeah. Mitzi
how did you manage that?
Mitzi was very nice to me. Bud loved me from New York.
Okay.
I was out there. He had already left, but Silver Friedman was running the Improv, and we were all very close. And it was like a family. And Bud liked me. And then Mitzi liked me too. And she gave me the best spots. I mean, I was getting 10:30, 10:40, you know, at the Comedy Store. And then I go over the Improv and do an 11:15 or 9 o'clock.
Nice.
Wow. So it was sensational. But now it's very difficult because you have to be digitally set up and have a lot of followers and all that stuff. And
man,
you know,
it's brutal. It's one of those things where I feel like I was duped because, you know, when like I said, I was a comedy nerd. So I grown up reading Comic Lives and Comic Insights and all these books and stuff coming up, and, you know, standing outside with a ticket and waiting to get on and kind of the audition process. And then slowly, like, all that went out the window. And now it literally is like who you have following you. Like I remember trying to get into a club in Ohio, and the guy was like, well, how many followers do you have? And I was like, 25,000, but they're not all in Akron. So I don't think you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, just watch my fucking tape. Like, if you think I'm funny, that's great. And then I had another guy who vouched for me, and he was like, if you're looking for funny, you know, you can book John. You know, John will headline the club. You can book John. And then he was like, but I don't know how many followers he has. And I literally didn't get the gig because I just didn't have the followers at the time. And I was like, man, I don't know what you have to fucking do.
Right.
It's rough.
Yeah, they run the thing. So there's not much you can do except write a script and write your way out of it.
Exactly. And you have to do. Isn't that crazy though? That now, I mean, obviously I feel like that's another thing too. Comics are always creative and they figure a way around stuff, whether it's censorship or getting onto or any of that kind of stuff, like circumventing a way just to get back onto the stage you originally wanted to be on in the first place is hilarious. It's like, you know, you have to literally shoot someone and then get famous and in the paper and then be like, now can I get a spot at the, you know, like whatever it is. Yeah. Right. Become a serial killer.
But, you know, I wrote a bunch of scripts and some of them got around and did pretty good, but didn't go all the way. But you know, one of the great things I found, I have this book coming out, Why Not? Lessons in Comedy, Courage, and Chutzpah. Chutzpah. So because of my writing and stand-up, I've learned to be very succinct because you got to get there fast and you don't want extra syllables and words.
Right.
You're tight. That's comedy. Best comedy is tight.
Yep.
And so when I wrote this book, stand-up comedy helped me an awful lot because I was able to get to the point very quickly. I didn't skedaddle around.
Nice.
Yeah. So the writing that we do here is very helpful in many other places.
Yeah.
The best stand-up writing is closest thing to poetry. There's not an extra syllable in a great poem. Nothing. Right. Same thing with great stand-up.
Do you prefer the writing and like script writing and books and stuff like that over performing stand-up because of the stage fright, or do you find them equally like enjoyable?
No, I love stand-up. I love doing it. Nice. And I'm going back on the road with Seinfeld in September.
Ah, beautiful.
We're going to like 5, 6 different cities, maybe more, probably
Nice.
12 cities. And I love it. It's absolutely incredible. And I'm working with my friends, you know, there. But sitting down in my room by myself, being a stand-up, you learn to spend a lot of time by yourself.
Yeah.
So it's not a big deal for me to sit alone in my room and write.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to learn to get rid of the things that make you go stop writing.
Yeah.
The
Like
phone,
yep.
Shut the internet while you do it.
Yeah. I put a timer on my phone. Like, so when I'm doing stuff like that, if I am writing or doing whatever, I have a lock that locks all social media apps. I can't get notifications. I can't get whatever for a certain amount of time. That way I know I'm just not going to be bothered.
Yeah. I mean, think about the phone calls you've gotten over the last year and a half. Has there ever been one that you couldn't wait?
No, you're right. Absolutely.
Not one.
Yeah.
You can't think of one. Oh, well, if I missed this one, it was all over.
Right, right.
Even if someone's dead, they're dead. It can wait another hour. I'm sorry to be so, but it's, you know.
No, I hear you, man. It's great.
There's so many times I'll envy not like that. I wish I was in the 80s where like they'd call, leave a message. Okay, I'll get back to them. I'll listen to my machine and I'll call you back. Yeah, that is those days are gone. Now it's like you miss a call. They don't even want to know you. They feel like you did them wrong.
Yeah, not even that, but like in the 80s, like I like, or even when I was a kid, like I remember being excited to see people. I don't give a fuck, like, because everybody's always messaging you. I don't miss anybody. I don't ever like, you know, I'm not ever like glad that somebody came over. I'm always like, oh, you texted me and now you're here. This is awful. Yeah. None of this is good. Terrible.
We actually have a question from one of our viewers. So Lindsay had asked, do you remember writing for Roseanne and what it was like? She wanted to know.
Yeah, Lindsay. I wrote on Roseanne's talk show. And Roseanne really liked me a lot. Nice. And she pulled a lot of comedians who weren't doing well at the time out of hell, and she gave us jobs. And other people weren't hiring us. She hired comedians.
Wow.
And she was just terrific. On the other hand, she was nuts. But she was enormously talented and enormously funny, and she has a very good heart. So I wrote in a way I never wrote before. I wrote topical jokes. So they would give me like 8 newspapers, put me in an office by myself, and I would write 15, 20 jokes. She put me in sketches with her.
Nice.
And she was very nice to me, very kind. She was just wonderful. You
wrote with Bob Hellman, right?
Bob Hellman. I'm trying to remember that name.
I think that was somebody else, another writer on the show.
It might have been. I don't remember everybody there. I know Paul Mooney, who you mentioned in one of your books. He was on the show. And,
he's great.
And he had a sign on his office door, no whites permitted.
What do you think of it?
It was nice to work with Mooney.
He seemed like a great guy. Everybody said he was super nice when I met him and stuff. And nicer to younger comics. I love that Roseanne did that too. Is that like do you think that's from you guys all kind of knowing Rodney at the time, who he was also generous with comedians and would buy jokes from you guys? Like, do you think some of that rubbed off on that generation?
Yeah, you know, Rodney is what got her going.
Yeah.
You know, put her on the special and all that. She just has a good heart. She's sensitive to that sort of thing.
Right.
And she knows the struggle. She's suffered and she's struggled, and she's able to kind of understand. But on the other hand, you know, she'll fire your ass if you're not
right.
If you're not doing it.
That's the thing, man. I always felt really like, you know, again, I mean, she politically, obviously, she and I would never see eye to eye on anything like that, especially now. But I still feel like she got robbed from that shit. You know what I mean? Like that is a tragedy. You know, I mean, that's her whole life. And I still can't get over the fact that they just ripped that out from under her and without any kind of receipt, like nothing, you know, they could just take it from her. It was wild to me. Her whole life. That's
where we're at. But she's in Hawaii. I think she's got a farm, and she's
got a peanut farm, which is so cool.
Doing good, you know. So she's great. In fact, I wanted to get in touch with her. I haven't talked to her in a long time, but she was always very kind.
I talked to her son a couple weeks ago, and they got I think they did a documentary on her on Reels or something like that, which is going to be out soon or something. It's going to be cool.
You know, she's very talented. Louis Anderson was very talented.
Yeah,
but the overweight comedians if they're good, they break through a lot faster than the trim ones.
I can see that.
America loves overweight people.
John Panette.
Yeah, Panette. And the other guy, the young guy that died.
Oh my God. Oh, what the fuck?
Yeah, I'm missing it too. I'm sorry to say.
No. Yes, I'll think of it in a second.
AK something.
Yeah.
Paul. No, May. So.
Oh, damn it.
They just break through very quickly. Those guys. And by the way, everyone we mentioned is enormously funny and talented.
Yeah.
But it just takes you a little longer when you, are in good shape.
Oh, Ralphie May.
Ralphie May.
Yeah.
Another one.
Do you remember somebody that broke through really quickly out of your group?
Really quickly? Well, some of them will tell you they broke through too quickly. But David Say broke through pretty quickly. He was at Catch a Rising Star.
Oh, wow. He wrote for Bill Maher, right?
No, I don't think he did that. But
am I thinking of somebody else who wrote for Bill Maher? David Say.
Yeah, that I don't know. But some of the guys, it took us all pretty much a while. Nobody was just pulled out of the club so quickly. We had to get funny. And really, and be able to work like 20 minutes solid where they would come in and see you.
Wow. Okay.
Because
it was like, I was thinking like, it seemed like sometimes when Carson was interviewing those guys, like back in the day, they would say, how long have you been doing stand-up? And it would be like 3 or 4 years. And then now when you guys talk about how long it takes you to find your voice, people go like 5 to 10. You know what I mean? Like, what do you think about that group that made it go from 4 to, and then they're like 10 years before you know who you are as a comic? You know what I mean?
So the guys that got pulled out in 3 years or 4 years, didn't last for the most part.
Gotcha.
They were there too soon. They shot their wad way too quickly.
Right.
The first set, it just didn't have enough to last after coming around 3 years.
Wow.
You got to build it. Yeah. The Tonight Show, they would come in and they would see you, and you do your 5 minutes, but they already knew that you probably had some backbone to you. Yeah.
Is there any new guys that you like?
It's probably yes. I just haven't been to Rosebud. I like.
Oh, nice. Oh, yes, absolutely. Rosebud Baker.
Yeah, she's doing terrific.
She's phenomenal.
Yeah, there's a lot of really. Who did I see the other day? Who I don't know why I missed him. I saw Earthquake special.
Oh, Earthquake is hilarious. I love Earthquake.
Hilarious, unbelievable.
So funny. Just a great presence too in the room on stage. If you've seen him, if you're seeing him live, man, he just dominates.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So, I'm not getting to the clubs as much. During the COVID thing, I was certainly not going.
Right.
But now I'm going, and but I'm gonna be in Vegas at the Tropicana. Harry Basil has the Tropicana. I'll be there.
That's right.
August 8th through something or other, and that's always fun. Do 40 minutes and 14 shows or something like that.
When are you coming out to Jersey?
I was here for my son's wedding. That's where I got COVID. That's where I got COVID. I'm never coming back.
On behalf of Jersey, I apologize.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I had COVID at the wedding. I didn't know it. I felt a little sick.
I got COVID at a wedding in New Jersey, too.
I wonder if you guys were in the same hall in like 2 different rooms.
Probably not. But the next day I tested and I still didn't have it. But the day after that, I had it.
Wow. Oh, man, that's messed up.
I'm glad I got it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was bad for a couple days. I slept for like half of a day and then that was it.
I was so tired.
Oh, me too. The fatigue is what Tom will tell you. I got freaked out and Tom had it. And also, but I got I think we both put each other in the hospital. We didn't need to be in the hospital, but I was like, my blood pressure's low. I'm dying. I got to get to the hospital. And they were just like, you're just tired. You're fatigued.
You're okay.
Yeah, you're okay.
You're tiny. That's why your blood pressure's low. We actually had a comic has been chiming in. He said, Dave Martell said, ask Mark what he thinks of the overweight comedian David Martell.
So that's who's chiming in. Dave Martell is an example of a guy that keeps trying and trying and trying. But he ain't got it. He's Dave, I'm sorry to tell you. And he's a chubby guy, so he would have gone through a lot faster if he had it. But even being fat, they're not opening the door to him.
Holy shit! Oh,
I love Dave. He's one of my dearest friends in the world, and he really does try, and he's getting better. The truth is, he's getting better.
Nice.
And he's going to have he's not going to jump the podcast, but he's going to do an Instagram show starting June 1st. So I wish him luck, and I love him.
Awesome.
Nice. He actually also asked us to ask you about where you were on 9/11. Is there a good story behind it?
I was with him in Alaska.
Oh,
I was doing cruise ships at the time, and I stopped doing them because I just couldn't take it. It was like a metaphor for my life, just floating endlessly, going nowhere. Just, this thing. And, give me a salad and buffet in 4 hours. So we're in Alaska, and he calls me in my room, and he says, "Mark, turn on the TV." And I turn it on, and I see that the tower had been taken down, and then the other one, and we were docked, and we went to. I called my wife. I was able to get through to her, and we actually went sightseeing that day because there was nothing else we could do.
Wow,
nothing we could do. So we looked around where we were, and it was absolutely spectacular. And when we got back to the ship, the captain makes an announcement. These ships are like from Norway and Sweden, and they sound very dramatic, like German people,
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, "America is at war."
Holy shit.
Yeah, he announces it to us. America's at war.
Oh my God.
But Dave and I, we got off the ship in Canada, and somehow we rented a car. And we were able to get across the border. This is like 3 days after. They let us through. And then we flew out of there and went to LA. And when we land, the only people that were driving cabs were people from the Middle East. And Dave looks at me and goes, "They won." It was a great joke, actually.
That's hilarious. That's so good. I got to ask you, because you wore it specifically. You got a denim jacket on. You got legitimate patches all over your denim jacket. It's beautiful, man.
Yeah, look at this. Look at this.
That is incredible.
So this is over 35 years in the making. I got another one here. I'll show you.
I love that. Wow. And that's all the places you've been and stuff like that on the road gigs?
Yeah, this is how you remember where you've been.
That is so smart.
We don't remember that stuff, and we don't write about it. So,
that is great. Well, it's funny. You got places that you've been. All these buttons are from road gigs, because my buddy and I, when we go out on the road together, she and I will try to find an antique, like an old vintage record store.
Yeah,
and
sure.
There's comedy albums hanging up on the wall behind me are from places I've been on the road, and so are most of these buttons. So I don't have where they were, but I know where I got them when I was on the road. So it's cool.
It's a beautiful jacket. It's a beautiful jacket. But these don't fall off, and people love these. When I'm this is the most popular piece of clothing I've ever owned in my life.
Yeah.
Really?
When I walk into an elevator, if I'm in the front, people have something to read, first of all. And they would say, "Oh, God, you've been to all those places." Let me tell you a story about this jacket, okay?
Yeah, please.
Quick story. So every time I would go away, I would get a patch. And then after I had like 3 patches, I used to live on a street called Cloverdale in LA. And there was a little tailor about 3 blocks from me.
Mm-hmm.
And I would go in and I would give him the patches, and he would sew them on this jacket and the other jacket. And it was an old guy, an old Italian guy. This went on for years. And then one day I'm gone on the road for about 3 weeks, and I go to the store, and there's a young guy in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "What happened to, he goes, "That's my father. He passed on about 2 weeks ago. He died, and I'm running the store for now. Can I help you?"
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Yeah, to tell you the truth, I'm sorry that it happened. I really liked you, Dad." And I take out this jacket, and I take out patches, and he looks and he goes, "You're the patch guy." And he goes, "My father used to live through your jacket about all the places that you visited that he never got a chance to go to. It was his favorite piece of clothing to work on."
Wow. What an honor.
Isn't that unbelievable?
That is
really sweet.
Yeah.
I know.
So you never know.
Yeah, I get it's the weirdest thing ever since I started wearing this jacket, and it's only been I've had it, but I never wore it on air. I never like really wore it in the clubs. I was a leather jacket guy, but everywhere I go with this, people are just like, "I love your jacket. I love what you're wearing." You know, it's just nice conversation piece. Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
What's there not to like? It's beautiful.
Thank you. Same
get a couple of patches, you know, and
I will. I'm going to start getting patches for it. That's great.
They got them at the airports.
Oh yeah.
Generally they got them.
What's the newest patch you got on yours?
Oh, I haven't put a new patch on here in a long time.
Oh, all right.
I still have a bag with 100 patches in my closet.
Wow.
That's so great.
You know, like you go to a place, I would go to like a national park, and then I go to the gift shop, and they got national park patches.
Yep.
And then in town, if you go to you walk through anything, you walk by a gun shop, they got local patches in there. Whatever it is, they got these things. Yeah,
they're everywhere, man. Well, listen, man, I kept you for over an hour. I want to ask you the big three questions that we ask every guest that's on the show. First question is, if you can go back in time and talk to your younger self, what piece of advice would you give yourself that would help you today?
What piece of advice would I give myself? Well, talking to myself, and after what we talked about, it was go easier on yourself. Don't grind yourself down, and don't belittle yourself so much. You're a better person than you think you were.
Nice.
You know, that's the thing. I had a very low opinion of myself, and I had to work through it.
Very nice, man.
So,
second question is, what had to end in your life, good or bad, that led you to where you are today?
My drinking, 37 years off it.
Wow, congrats, man. That's great.
Yeah, November 18th, 1984. I haven't had a drink since since that day. Wow. I was a wine and beer guy every day, wine and beer.
Wow.
I would black out. I would go on the road with people for like 2 weeks. Then I'd see them at the Improv. I go, where do I know you from?
Oh my God.
Could you imagine you and I go on the road 2 weeks, we go to a club, hang out every day, and then I don't remember who you are or where I knew you from.
Wow.
Yeah, let me tell you something. I'll tell you. I'll quickly tell you something.
Yeah.
One time, this girl walks over to me and goes, "Mark, how are you?" And I said, "I'm good." And she goes, "You don't recognize me, do you?" I said, "I'm sorry, I don't." She goes, "I'm Pamela. I lived with you for a year."
Oh my God.
Yeah, how's that grab you? So it was at the loft. Wow. So I called my friend John just to make sure this woman wasn't a psycho.
Right.
Making this up. Because how do you forget somebody for a year?
Yeah.
Yep.
I call him up. He goes, "Yeah, she lived with us for a year."
Oh,
no memory.
God.
Can't remember a thing about her.
Wow.
Never came back either, even after the introduction.
Was that the thing that made you finally stop?
Yeah. Well, when I moved to California, I was drinking and driving. So in New York, you don't drive.
Right.
Yeah.
And I lived in Manhattan. You don't drive. You take the subway by yourself.
Sure.
But I got to California. The stakes were up, and I had enough head left to go, you're going to kill somebody. You're going to kill yourself. I went off the road like 2-3 times. I fell asleep at the wheel.
Wow.
Never got hurt. Never killed anybody. But I knew the jig was up. And I have where you're afraid of small spaces. What's that called?
Claustrophobia.
Yeah. So I didn't want to go to jail. I would just hang myself the first night.
Right. Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a good reason to quit.
Maybe the second night. I want to see what's on the menu first. You know what I mean? So
you can only order off the kids menu there, I heard. So that was it. Yeah, I know that's fucked up. Sorry, I'm gonna edit that. Just kidding. And the last question is tied into the show. So if this is a genuine dystopia, it could be whatever you want. It could be aliens, it could be zombies, it could be climate change, a comet headed toward Earth. But it's everybody's last day on the planet. How does Mark Schiff want to go out? What would be your epic death?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, that thing that happened in the school the other day.
Oh, yeah.
If it was my last day, I would want to go in there and save as many people as I could.
Nice.
That's how I'd want it to end. And I don't call that a blaze of glory. I call it the right thing to do.
Absolutely.
I like to die doing the right thing.
Absolutely, man. 100%.
That was a great answer.
Yeah, dude, I want to thank you so much for coming on. It was a pleasure to meet you virtually. I hope to meet you in person one day when you're here or when I'm out in LA. It'll be great.
Text me, call. Call or write.
Yeah, I've got your number.
Come out here and
absolutely, man. Yeah.
if you do that and I see, I'll give you like 3 patches.
Oh, thank you. That would be lovely.
You know what's funny? In my head, I didn't want to say it out loud, but I'm like, we're definitely making a Dystopia patch and sending it over.
We're
going to require it to get to that jacket.
Right? Yeah.
You should make Dystopia patches.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
That is. I will absolutely do that. We got T-shirts and stuff. I didn't think of making patches. Good call.
So you don't know Schiff?
Yep, you don't know Schiff. Where can you find that?
Everywhere, but
Everywhere
go to Apple.
Great.
That's where they like me the most.
Yeah, same.
Write a review, a nice review.
We'll do. Yeah, great podcast, awesome guests.
Thank you.
And can't wait. The book is coming out as well, man. It's gonna be great. I've got the other one, so I can't wait to get this one.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate your time too.
Absolutely, man.
It was such a pleasure. It was an honor to have you on with us.
Yep, nice meeting you, man. Peace.
Thanks. Bye.
Dystopia Tonight.